So here's 3 common mistakes beginners make when picking their first project car. Number 1, the eyes are bigger than the brain. So, you see something on Craigslist or, eBay or Marketplace, and it's got your eye and you've just been wanting it your whole life, right? That's what happened to me. That's what happened with me with second-gen Chargers. I've always loved those cars. My dad had a 68 when I was small. I don't really remember it much. And then he got a replacement 68, which is that very car. We'll go look at it since we're out here wandering around. She's dirty. I know you guys are gonna be upset that she's so dirty, but I've been so distracted. I have not had time for her. But he bought this car as a replacement to the first one. And now I'm lucky enough that it's my car. So, but anyways, your very first mistake is biting off more than you can chew. The eyes are bigger than the brain. You think to yourself, like, I've always wanted a Charger or whatever car, whatever your dream car is. And you find one and you have the money and you can afford it and you go snap it up, But you bit off a little more than you can chew. Maybe your skill level's not there, maybe your knowledge isn't there, and maybe the car is a little too far apart. Could be very rusty and you don't really have any experience cutting sheet metal off and welding new panels on your car. It could be it's missing tons of parts, right? So if you're a beginner, don't make this mistake. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't buy a car that's missing a bunch of parts. Don't buy a car that's, requires a ton of work, because in the long run, what'll happen is you'll start working on this car. And if this car turns into a, like a 10, 15 year project, like that, you get discouraged. It goes off and on and you get discouraged with it. And then, it goes through these big dry spells of, I don't want to do anything to that car. I don't want nothing to do with that car. And it just sits, right? So get yourself something, save more money. If they're a little more expensive because they're nicer, save your money. I know what you're thinking, because these cars have skyrocketed in value, right? Mopars are off the hook valuable and expensive, and there's no stopping them. They just keep climbing and climbing and climbing, There's just the supply and demand. Demand keeps going up and supply keeps going down, and prices just skyrocket. So I know it seems impossible, but hey, it's 2022 right now, and if you're paying attention, not through normal media reach, but through like YouTube and the underground network of what's really going on with the economy and stuff, we're about to make a big turn downward in the economy. The stock market's already been taking a hit. Crypto's been taking a hit. The economy's following. It looks like we're going to be in full recession. And a lot of these guys are saying it's going to be so bad. It's the worst we're ever going to see. It's going to blow 2008 away. It may even be just like Great Depression days. So, I don't know all that. I'm no expert on it, but I know it's going to get ugly here pretty soon. And layoffs are already kind of starting to happen. So anyways, and besides, another thing to consider is all that stuff is like dependent on where you are in the country. Everybody's reality is a little bit different. So you might be looking around like, where I'm at, it's not too bad. And, you might be looking around like, I don't know what you're talking about. Everything's fine. But, in another area of the country that maybe doesn't have as much industry or something, you can know a lot of people that are getting laid off or whatever. So, and it's unfortunate, but these downturns always create opportunity, whether you're going to buy into the stock market and get yourself some, buy stock that's cheaper, or the housing market's going to be taking a big downturn too, and you think, I can't afford a house. Well, I think if it plays out similar to 2008, I would say in 4 years' time, houses are possibly going to be half what they are today. So if you can't afford a $600,000, $700,000 house here in Southern California, you know, maybe you can afford a $350,000 house. So start planning for it, you know, be ready, because, you know, it's not going to stay like that. It's going to take a crash and it's going to turn around. So your window's only going to be like probably 4 years or so. But anyway, it's going to affect the car market too, I think. Now, what I remember in 2008 was, it seemed like to me, and I could be wrong, you know, this is just anecdotal, you know, this is just me, what I saw. It seemed like the really expensive cars, the nice cars that were restored and stuff, like they were priced really high and they just kind of stayed there. They just didn't move because people didn't have the money, you know. But all the cars that were kind of like driver cars or older restorations or cars that needed to be restored, you know, mid-level to low-level, those cars, they went on sale in many cases, you know, because people were desperate. They didn't have the money to, you know, they were hurting because they either lost their job or they lost their house, or, you know, some unfortunate, you know, medical problems and stuff, whatever it is. They went through some hard times, and like, that's what happens, you know. In 2008, dude, like Southern California culture is like, you know, dirt bikes, sea-doos, jet boats, you know, ski boats, toy haulers, dirt bikes, well, I don't think we had side-by-sides back then. We had quads and stuff, but, you know, it's like everybody rolled a 4x4 truck. You know, that was typical California, and at least Southern California. And man, when shit hit the fan, like that was the first thing you got rid of, was your toys. You know, it's like, I got to keep my house and I got to feed my family. So the dirt bikes go, the toy hauler goes, the truck goes. Like, people were just giving stuff away, man, you know. And of course, a lot of people are desperate, so they didn't have the money to buy that stuff. So you didn't have a huge demand for it. So you can score some pretty good deals if you had money. And the same thing with the cars, you know, they're toys. You know, these cars might have been daily drivers when they were new, but they're toys now, you know. So they're on the block, you know. I mean, if there's a huge sentimental attachment to the car, it'll be one of the last things that goes. But if it's just something somebody bought and they're working on, you know, and they're hard up for cash, they're gonna let it go. So it might be the deal or the opportunity of a lifetime to score yourself a really cool Mopar. So be ready for it. But anyway, save your money, get yourself a complete car. Get a car that you can work on, you know, preferably a car that is complete. If it runs, that's great. But even if it doesn't run, like if you can't afford that, but you find something nice, you know, that doesn't run, that's okay. And don't try to avoid getting really rusty cars. I mean, that is a huge undertaking to start cutting panels off cars and fixing them, you know, and it takes years to do that stuff. So if you're a beginner, stay away from it, okay? So mistake number 2, all right? This one's gonna be a little controversial, right? If you know me and you follow me, you already know what I'm thinking probably. But A-bodies, okay? They're a mistake. Okay, maybe not a mistake. Well, here's the deal. It depends what you're going to do with an A-body, okay? It depends on you and your personality and how much you can resist, you know, going overboard with a car. All right, so if you're a young guy, young girl, whatever, you like A-bodies, you like cars, and let's face it, the A-bodies are the cheaper of the Mopar group, right? So let's say you find yourself a 74 Duster, like that one, and it's got a slant 6 in it, right? What I'm saying is, it's okay to buy if you're gonna buy that car and leave it bone stock, like you're just gonna get it running, you're gonna cruise it, you're gonna enjoy the car as if it was 1974 and you just drove it off the lot. You're not gonna do anything to it, all right? If that's your goal, fine, I got no objections, right? But if you have that, you know, hot rod bug, that vein of hot rod where it's like you gotta always go a little faster, you gotta make a little more power, you want a little more performance, stay away from these cars, all right? Now, it's different. There's another approach that it's okay. if you were buying, let's say you had a little more money, you got a little more scratch, and you could afford a 340 car, or, you know, or 360 car that's got some performance in it and stuff. If that's what you can afford and you can get that, and again, you're gonna leave it pretty much stock, that's okay. Because those cars, you know, they're kind of equipped with more heavier duty parts, right? They're able to hold up to a little more power and stuff. You don't really have to upgrade them. So if you bought like a 340 Dart, let's say, and you know, all you did was get it running, maybe put a little hotter cam, headers, that kind of stuff, you know, that's fine too. That's fine too. But if you find yourself, you know, buying a Valiant, buying a Duster, a Dart Sport, a Dart, you know, whatever, any kind of A-body that had a slant 6 in it, and you're like, I've got to make it more faster, you know, I got to make more power. Dude, it's a huge mistake, because if you're gonna go to a V8, and don't argue with me with the whole like, oh, a slant 6, you can make power with it, we could put turbos on it and all that shit. Fine, yeah, you could do all that stuff. I'm not talking about, you know, the guys in the fray. I'm talking about regular people, you know, that you're a beginner, you got a limited amount of knowledge and experience on working on cars and stuff. Don't get crazy with these things, man. All right, so a slant 6. The easiest way to make power is not to make power out of the slant 6. It's to put a V8 in it, right? So you're gonna put a 318, a 340, or 360 in the car, right? And if you're really a dumbass, you're probably gonna put a 440 like I did, or a 383 in the car, right? By the way, a 383 will fit easier than a 440. But the problem with any V8 on a slant 6 car is the transmission won't work. So you gotta upgrade the transmission. The drive shaft is gonna change. The length is gonna change on it. The rear end won't hold any power, so you're gonna have to upgrade to a 8 3/4 at least, or a Dana, you know. And then it's just gonna be a cascade from there. You know, I put a 440 in that car, in that Duster there, and gosh, so much time into that car. It's all dirty now too. You're gonna, you know, rip me a new one for that too, right? So, you know, I bought it, it was already a shell. So I went through everything, and I basically mini tubbed it, moved the leaf springs in, put frame connectors, put a roll cage in it, put a 440 in it, 727 big block trans for it, drive shaft, 8 3/4 rear end for it, and like, you know, went through the whole freaking thing. It's a badass car, I love it, but it's not practical, and it took many years to make that happen, and a lot of money. And you know, if it wasn't for all my other cars and that I put in between that I can enjoy along the way, I probably would have gotten very discouraged and sold it and been done with it. So it's not practical. Like, don't do it. I basically, all the money I spent on that freaking car, I basically made it a B body. That's what I did. I made it so that it'll hold tires that a B body can hold stock, you know, disc brake conversion, don't forget that. So that's the second mistake. And the big mistake, number 3, this is the mistake that the novice guys keep making too, right? You can't help it. We're wired. I don't know. It's gearhead. It's a gearhead thing, car guy thing. I see it over and over and over again, right? They'll go find a car, you know, maybe it's something like that Charger. Here's this stupid thing blocking it. Maybe you found a car like that that's kind of like pretty much together and stuff, and you think, oh, that's a great project. That's awesome, right? All it really needs is a motor or whatever, and you buy it, and what do? You take it apart. You pull the drivetrain out because you want to build a stroker 440 for it. You want it to be the most badass motor ever made, right? And so the motor comes out. Well, you got this badass motor. You can't half-ass. If you're going to put a stroker in it, you can't half-ass the heads. You're going to go aluminum heads, you know. Might as well go with like some badass heads, you know, like some Victors or some Indies or something like that. So then you got this badass motor. Now you can't can't just have a regular 727 in there. No, we got to have like a Tremec 6-speed manual transmission. Let's go ahead and convert it over to that. Or we got to have the best known transmission, automatic transmission builder in the area build you a trans to go up against that big block stroker, right? And then you're like, oh, I got to have a Dana. If I'm going to do all that, I might as well go with a Dana. And if I'm going to put all that money into the drivetrain, I might as well, you know, take it to the shop and have it painted. And let's just go ahead and completely restore it, you know. More money. And so then what happens? Well, if you're an average guy and you make average money and you have average time, you work an average job, you know, and you got wife and kids and stuff like that, and you start pouring money into the car, that's usually what happens. The money will go into the motor first, right? And then the project will drag because you don't have the time for it, you know, and it'll go on pause. And then you'll get a little more money somewhere down the road, you know, tax return, a bonus check, something like that. Then you drop the transmission off and get done. And then, you know, you've got Little League, you've got birthday parties, you've got anniversaries, you've got, you know, I don't know, camping trips. And, you know, the car drags on. More years go by, and then shit happens. And, you know, I don't know, you're going to buy another house, or your wife's car broke down, or your truck broke down, or your, you know, pipe leak or something, roof caves in. I don't know. There's always some emergency that takes place, and then you need the money, right? You start looking around. What am I going to do? Oh, I'll sell that motor and trans. So then you sell the motor and trans, just say, tell yourself, I'll do a Hemi. I'll just go bigger and badder later. And then, you know, that never happens. And then, you know, the car goes on for years sitting in the garage. And it's a shame. I mean, it happens, dude. It happens. So don't become one of those, you know. Don't let it happen to you. And if it has happened to you and you've persevered and you still have the car and you still have the dreams, like, more power to you, man. Like, I'm not knocking you, because, you know, I'm there too. That's mine. Look. That's my baby. 68 Dodge Charger, high school car. Oh, sorry for that bomb. Just turned 50. You know, and that car's been sitting since high school. So it's been sitting over 30 years. It's a long time. So, you know, I'll get to it someday, I hope. And I'm keeping the dream. You know, I'm not going to let it go. But, you know, it does suck. It sucks. I should have been spending the last 30 years driving that freaking car, you know. But whatever, we're trying to make up for lost time right now. But I'm just warning you from experience. You know, those are the 3 mistakes that you can make doing this, especially as a beginner, but also as a novice. And don't do that. And, you know, if you can't help yourself, hey, you can't help yourself, right? We are who we are. But, and maybe hearing this, even if you're one of those people that made one of those 3 mistakes or all of those 3 mistakes, maybe this is your wake-up call, and it's sort of like, hey, let's go jump on that car and let's wrench it. Let's get it done so it's not a mistake. That's it. So you might be thinking, what a freaking hypocrite, man, right? Hey, you wouldn't be wrong, right? I'm telling you to do one thing, and here I am doing a completely different thing. So here's the other school of thought, you know, kind of what I'm doing, which you shouldn't be doing, because I'm telling you it's a mistake. But you know, sometimes a deal comes up and it's just too good to be true, or it's too good to pass up, right? So in those scenarios, you can swing it. You know, maybe it's too much of a project car or something like that, but you just gotta have it. Freaking go for it. You know, I've seen a few guys too, they'll start at one car, and then they get a good price on it, and then they're able to flip it, make a few bucks, and increase their little pile of cash to work on to something bigger and better, you know, something that they really want. So from that standpoint, you know, I can't really argue with it if you can pull it off. You know, if you got space or room or the ability to drag, you know, a trailer, drag a car home that, you know, isn't running. In that scenario, I would advise you not to do it, but it could be a benefit if you play your cards right and you use that car as a stepping stone to the next car. Or you feel like, oh, you know, that's not going to be me. I'm going to buy that Slant 6 Duster, and then I'm going to buy a 360 and a 727 and an 8.75, and I'm going to make it a cool little hot rod, right? And it will be if you can pull it off. That's fine. You know, use this as motivation not to fall into the trap, you know. But, you know, I've done it a long time. Gosh, these cars are all filthy too. Look at my Cornet. Freaking started up the Belvedere and I left the door open, so there's no header or no exhaust on it. So I just threw dirt up everywhere and coated the Cornet. Anyways, yeah, I mean, look at this. This is another mistake, right? I got this car for free. If you watch Talking Mopars or listen to Talking Mopars and you listen to the story, I don't remember where it is, but it's of me picking up a 68 Dodge Charger, and then the guy was like, hey, you want another one? And it turned out to be a 72. That's the car. Car was free. That was a long time ago, and look at it, dirty. I mean, it's gonna be badass when it's done, but it takes years, man, it takes years. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Do one car at a time. Right? Don't do as I do as I say. Oh, man. I don't know. What do you guys think? Think I'm freaking crazy? Think I'm full of shit? Let me know in the comments.